What is up? Welcome to REI 101. Hey,
What's
it's the
up, man?
last week of school, and all you taxpayers and people paying private tuition, all your hard money is going to work right now with end of school year. Your kids are spending the day watching movies and playing games and having fun and partying, not learning anything this week. And I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. I always loved that even as a teacher, I enjoyed the last week of school. Got a lot of
I know a
gifts.
lot of parents that are preparing for graduations and things like that probably found the last few weeks kind of stressful getting ready for
Yeah,
graduation.
man, I got two graduating college this year. So Ava graduated A&M last week, and then Abby's graduating SFA. So I'm a proud dad. What can I say? How are you, sir? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Weather was amazing. We did a lot of stuff. Church was awesome. Yeah, church was
Yeah,
really fun
that's
yesterday, but
good.
it was a really good weekend, man. I can't complain. We just kind of relaxed a little bit. We closed on our flip last Tuesday, or I think it was last
Congratulations.
Tuesday. Yeah, thank you. And so now it's just kind of the houses that we're building, just watching them go up. And I don't really have a lot to do. So I'm just out there kind of looking for deals. But this weekend was pretty chill. Liked it.
Well, we are going to find some deals because before I introduce our amazing special guest, I want to share just a couple of data points. Um, Bro, the deals are there. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
So we talked about this, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but right now, um, this is how many units are on the market right here. 51,088. Those are just houses that are sitting on the market. It's so it is going up, up, up. It's pretty ridiculous how. And look, what happens, these houses are being listed at $511,000. They're being listed.
Wow.
And then if they don't sell in that first month, they're losing like 50 to in some cases $100,000 in value. And
Wow.
so here's the original price. 500. I said 500. 487. I was off by 13,000. So they're being listed for 487 and they're losing in April. The average house sold for 15% less than it was originally listed for.
Wow.
So there is an opportunity when you have 6 months of inventory, there's an opportunity to jump on it. So we got a new Fed chair, Michael Warsh, I think his name is
Worse. Yeah.
Warsh. We'll see if he's going to wash this economy. And
I don't know, man. With inflation going in the direction that it's going, I
it's
don't know
kind of
if I don't
well,
see any rate cuts anytime soon.
well that just means opportunity for the people that know how to play the game. So
Yes.
I want to introduce one of my favorite people. Today's episode is very important for real estate investors because the topic that we're going to discuss can make or break a file, can make or break a deal. And having a title company that you know, like, and trust that our guest has taught me a tremendous amount, has gotten ahead of a lot of dumb fires. And yeah, there are a lot of dumb fires. And when I say dumb fires, like fires that erupt out of nowhere that easily could have been prevented, and now we're in panic mode. And somebody like Stacy from Fidelity knows how to come in, put out the fire. In many cases, knows how to identify and put out the fire before you even know that there is a fire. So, I want to welcome our special guest, Stacy Proue from Fidelity. Hi, friend. Thank you for
Hi,
being here.
thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time. I know you're probably super busy and you got a line out the door. People are needing your attention. Tell us about your just like a real quick like 2 minute snippet, your background and title. How did you like no offense, but like I don't know any kids that are like when I grow up, I want to be in like how did that happen and why are you such a good fit for what you do?
Thank you. So actually, this happened by chance. I got into this by being placed in a title company through a what do you call it? Like a oh my gosh, I just
Like a
went
temp
blank.
agency?
Temp agency. Thank you. Yes,
I did not know that.
I got asked to fill in for a couple of weeks for the receptionist at the corporate office, and then they hired me from there. And there is no college to go to for this. It's just trial and error. I mean, you just learn as you go. You have to take courses to keep up your hours, just like real estate. But really, you just learn as you go, and so you have to be very detailed, very organized. I mean, that's what makes a good closer is being organized, being detailed. And then you have to have the personality aspect of it too, because you are dealing with your clients and you have to sit down in front of them at closing. And so it's a little bit of both.
It's kind of like being a real estate agent. I always joke around like anybody can become a real estate agent. Like, really, it's not that hard, obviously. However, there's very, very few people that are going to succeed and actually build a career in that.
Right.
And we know that in this industry. So, branch manager, senior like you're doing it all. Like you're showing up to the happy hours and to the events. You're doing the marketing, but you're also the one at the closing. Like you're wearing multiple hats, right?
Yes, yes.
So, what we want to talk about, I have like 100 million billion questions for you, and we have kind of an outline that we provided, but shows like this rarely stay on script, right, Albert?
Right.
So, first thing that we need to learn as a family and as a community of real estate investors, and that's how you and I connected was through mutual clients that were
Correct.
investing, flipping. Maybe you can even think about that one client that we're both thinking about. Going back, what are the two or three things that real estate investors are not thinking about when in regards to title, picking their title company that they're closing with, or things that happen during the process that just it's like a constant shock, constant surprise. Like, what are we not thinking about that we should be thinking about right now?
So I would say from the investor files, first and foremost, you guys are typically working with elderly people, people that are just needing to get out of their property fast. They need a quick close, cash. So what we see more often than not are deceased owners with investors.
Okay.
So you're dealing with a
Like probates,
child who's
estates.
here, yes, or a widow whose spouse just passed or whatnot, and they didn't know that they needed to have the will probated, or there may not be a will at all. So first and foremost, the marital status of those owners, and the faster that we as a title company can get that information, the quicker we can jump on that. We can ask those questions. Was there a will? Was it probated? If not, then we can go ahead and get those owners the forms that they need to complete so that we can get an heirship affidavit process started. So that is probably the number one thing on investor files. The other thing that we are seeing more often than not these days are the memorandum of contract.
Mm.
So that owner may have been under contract with another investor, and for whatever reason that deal didn't go through. Well, that investor filed a memorandum of contract on that property, and that clouds the title. So then you have to go and find that investor that filed that memorandum of contract, and typically they want some type of monetary compensation to release that memorandum.
Okay, so break that scenario down. So John Doe is selling his house. Investor A puts the house under contract as a purchaser.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the deal doesn't go through.
Right.
And then what is happening there?
So what we're seeing a lot of times is maybe the seller wound up not liking what this investor was going to give them as far as the sales price. So
Mhm.
it could have been that they just changed their mind after they got under contract, or the investor came back and said, no, that price isn't going to work. We really need to reduce that. And the seller wasn't happy with that. And they said, no, I'm not going to sell it to you for that price. So they walk away, but they were still under a contract.
So they
So
don't terminate. They're not terminating the
they're
contract.
not terminating, right? But they ghost the investor or whatever, and the investor winds up going down to the courthouse. They file a memorandum of contract saying, "Hey, we're under a valid contract with this seller, so if he gets under contract with another buyer, we've got to release this contract before you can
Oh
move
yeah.
forward with your purchase."
So it's not just the release of earnest money. It's actually the contract, not
That's
so.
right.
And this is probably going to happen more. I'm afraid to ask this question, and Albert, feel free to jump in. But this is happening more when sellers are not being represented by a real estate agent. I mean, be honest with me. Are you seeing this happen when agents are involved, or agents doing this too?
Very rarely.
Okay,
No.
it's
Very
much.
rarely.
It's more true. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
typically
Good.
whenever an investor's working with an agent, there's really no need for that memorandum. That memorandum is primarily when investors are working directly with homeowners, and it is really to protect their right to purchase the property. Um, I've seen the other side of that where some investors that are a little shady, they'll put properties under contract with no intent really to purchase the property, just to cloud the title. And then that's kind of their business model, is to cloud the title. And then if it goes under contract somewhere else, then they basically want that compensation, like Stacy just mentioned, to release that memorandum. And I
Yeah.
think the state of Texas is, I think they passed some new laws, or something is happening with regards to memorandums as well. So they may be less frequent in the future, because I think there could be some recourse to those
Hmm.
particular investors that don't really have any intent to purchase the properties. This happened to me specifically a couple times, where where we actually wholesale the property to another wholesaling firm, and we had a memo on the property. Of course, we're going to release the memo because now we've assigned that contract to another wholesaler, and then they closed on the deal. Another instance was we got a referral from a family friend, and it was a situation where the father had passed away.
Hmm.
There was another party involved with that was on the deed, and she had rights to the property, but she didn't necessarily want to purchase it at that point in time.
Hmm.
So we went ahead with the contract. We got our contractors in there. We made our offer. They accepted the offer. Well, she also had to sign on the offer, right, to approve it. And we went ahead. Let me take a step back. The daughter actually signed the contract, and so that's what was a trigger for us to file the memorandum. So we
Mm.
sent the contract to title. Title did their thing, and then title came back and said, "Hey, this person right here needs to also be on this contract." They took the contract back to her. She saw what we were offering, and she said, "I'll buy it for that." And
Oh.
so they asked us to release the memo. And honestly, we value that relationship more than
Hmm.
really any compensation for that. So we just went ahead and released the memo on that particular one without any compensation. And we just like, okay, cool. You guys do your thing. Best of luck. So those are a couple instances where we've had to release memos.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that because being on the real estate side, that's not an issue
On
that
the
we,
agent side, yeah.
yeah, on the real estate agent side. So I do want to talk. I want to talk about wholesaling. I want to talk about creative financing. I want to talk about. I know we have a lot of war stories that we can trade, but before we get too deep into it, Stacy, can you explain for in just simplest terms what is escrow? What does that mean? What is the importance here?
Yeah, that's a good question because that confuses a lot of people when they see escrow fee on their closing statement. They're like, "What? I'm the seller. What do you mean escrow?" Because they typically think their taxes, insurance being escrowed with their mortgage company. We are an escrow holding company. So when your contract goes live and you deposit earnest money
Hmm.
with the title company, we hold that in escrow, meaning we are the neutral third party. So we receipt in that contract, we receipt in receiving earnest money option fee funds, and everything is held here in escrow until the deal closes. And so once the transaction closes, those funds get credited to the buyer at closing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, if the deal winds up terminating, then we, as the neutral third party, receive the release of earnest money, which tells us which party gets that earnest money
Mm-hmm.
if the deal terminates. We can't determine that, even though it pretty much states in the contract how it should be released if the deal falls through, but because we're a neutral third party.
You're a neutral third party,
right,
so you're not supposed to take sides.
Correct.
I get it.
So, yeah. But escrow that's our title, essentially, that we basically hold everything, paperwork, funds, everything is held in escrow until closing.
So I think some of the terminology can be confusing to newbies.
Right.
So what's the difference between title and escrow and transaction coordinating? And what is the title company's actual job? What is their responsibility?
Well, our job is to issue free and clear title. So we issue the title insurance to the buyer, which is going to cover situations such as if we missed a lien that had been filed, or an abstract of judgment, or a tax lien, or if there was an heir that came out of the woodwork later on down the line saying, hey, I had claims to that property. Anything like that is going to be covered under the buyer's title insurance policy. So if something came up and they were contacted saying, hey, you owe this amount of money on this property that wasn't paid when you bought it, then they would file a lien against their title policy, or a claim against their title policy.
Okay, so the title insurance will cover any of those, issues that are on the title. What type of, like, what's common when you're doing these title history reports?
Mm-hmm.
For, like, I'll be honest with you, as an agent, we've closed probably 100 deals. I don't ever pay attention to the research side of it, like the back end. Like, where are you looking, and what are you looking for, and what do you normally find?
So we are looking in the county records. So whatever county the property is filed in, we're going to do a search in that county. So we're looking for their mortgage lien.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for any abstracts of judgment, any tax liens, any divorces, probate, anything that's filed against the property or the property owner. And that's very important to know, because you, as a property owner, you may have a credit card that you didn't pay 10 years ago, and then they wound up filing an abstract of judgment against you. Now, in the state of Texas, that credit card judgment cannot attach to your homestead.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're a neutral third party. We can't just say, okay, well, we're not going to worry about this.
Right.
We have to deal with it if it shows up in the title search. So the consumer has to contact that creditor and say, hey, this is my homestead, so we need you to issue a partial release, releasing the property from the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not releasing the judgment itself, but it is releasing the actual judgment. But if this was not the homestead of the seller, then it would have to be collected and paid at closing, because it does attach to any non-homestead property.
So everything that you need is on the county records, tax records. What are some of the common? What are common, and then maybe for fun, you can give us some pretty bizarre examples if you're able to share. What are
common is your mortgage. I mean, we see that 95% of the time. We're going to find your mortgage, unless you own it free and clear, obviously. I would say after that, it would be some type of abstract of judgment, whether it's a credit card, it's a child support lien for you didn't pay your child support and your spouse filed that. Tax liens, HOA liens.
What about like solar panel liens, things like that?
Solar panel, those have gotten really popular lately. The solar panel liens and the water softener treatment.
Yeah.
People don't realize that when they take out these because they're not signing an actual deed of trust like they do with a typical mortgage lien. They don't think that that's going to show up and that has to be paid at closing. But these companies file what's called a UCC,
Hmm.
and so it does create a lien against the property, and so those do have to be paid and released at closing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the kind of crazier deals that just kind of died at the end was a piece of land, and it was it was unclear that somebody, it was like 150 years back in time where there was like a, I guess some cowboy signed a contract on the back of a horse or something like that. It was
Uh-huh.
like, are you seeing stuff like that where like there's there's a discrepancy, like a historical discrepancy, like decades or even a century? Like how common is that?
That's not very common.
Okay.
But it does happen though, and
It does happen. It does
it's
happen.
and it's very strange when it does because it's like,
Yes, yes.
what do you do? So what about, okay, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you
Okay,
because I'm hearing more things. Here's an issue that on the commercial side,
okay.
mineral rights.
Yes,
What's the deal with that? Because first of all, they're sold separately. You know, it's like mineral rights not included, like batteries not included.
correct.
How do, how do we know who owns the mineral rights? And I mean, what are you typically seeing there?
So typically, like around here, most of the mineral rights are already owned by somebody different. The
Hmm.
only time we ever hear about it is if an owner knows that they own those mineral rights, and they will usually tell the realtor up front when that contract is executed. And they say, we own the mineral rights, either we want to transfer those with the property or we want to retain those. And so if they want to retain those, it has to be shown in that contract, because when we get ready to prepare the warranty deed at closing, we have to specifically exclude those mineral rights, showing that the seller is retaining those. Now, if it's a case where there are mineral rights, but the seller is unsure about them, we don't actually search the mineral rights to find out who owns them. That would be the job of a landman. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so we would have to order that through a landman, and there would be a separate expense for that.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Moving on. Albert, do you have the next one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually I'm just interested about this landman. That's kind of
I
interesting.
know.
Wait, who
Like,
is the layman? Do we have
um,
one?
well, I think, well, I guess it's not really that common for like residential properties, right? That are
Correct.
kind of in the suburbs or in the city, things like that. I guess as we go out, to kind of more rural areas, you
Correct.
know, who, I guess, how would someone know, I guess, right, that they need to take that extra step? Is it the property own, like the sellers, are they maybe aware of something, maybe they don't know? Is the agent educating them, like, hey, you're in a rural area, and they may not buy or sell a lot, and or the seller, right, this may be their, let's say they inherited this property from grandfather, whatever, right? So now they've got this rural property somewhere. They're from the city, right? They
Mhm.
don't know anything about mineral rights.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, is it the agent's responsibility to kind of educate them and say, hey, you're in this area of town, right? Or outside town, we need to also ask the title company to, you know, do this extra service, this landman kind of review to see if there's any, like, where the mineral rights exist. Is that the agent responsibility, Austin, or is it the title
That
company to kind of bring it up? Like, do you,
Yeah, that definitely needs to be on an agent's checklist with the land. I mean, we've done it. We've sold land where the seller did not have the mineral rights. We've sold land where the seller retained the mineral rights, and we've sold land where the mineral rights were conveyed with the
mm,
property. I think I, I know now the contract by default, the mineral rights convey to the buyer.
mm-hmm,
Um, uh, but I don't like there have been it's been a long time since I've faced this issue, Stacy, but there have been times where we go to sell and then we find out that the seller doesn't actually own the mineral rights at that point, that the
Mhm.
mineral rights were actually owned. We had a property in Crystal Beach a couple years ago. And of course, me being a newer agent at that time, I, I asked the seller, I'm like, well, who owns the mineral rights?
Mhm.
No clue. Like,
Right.
fortunately, the buyer didn't care. Like, we never figured out who owned the mineral rights, but the deal closed.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know.
Well, usually when there's mineral rights, there's usually something filed with the county that's going to show up on Schedule B, because anything showing on Schedule B of your title commitment
Mhm.
is anything filed of record that we're going to take exception to on the policy.
What do you mean
Because
by
a lot of
Schedule
times,
B, first of
hmm,
all? What does that mean,
right.
Schedule B?
Schedule B of the title commitment, that's where all the exclusions are listed for the title policy.
Okay.
So any easements, the HOA, any mineral rights, anything that's shown on there, we're not going to cover under your title policy. So a lot of times it's going to show that there are mineral rights filed, but they're usually so old. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd have to get a landman at that
Hmm.
point to figure out like how this all transpired over the last 50 years, because
Yeah.
we're not going to know that, because a lot of times people don't file anything anymore. And so we have like the initial filing from many, many years ago, but we don't know who's got those mineral
Yeah.
rights at this time.
Yeah. Cool. That's good to know. I mean, that's really good to know. I don't do a lot of business out in rural, and I don't really do too much with commercial. So but it's just really interesting and good to know
Mm-hmm.
that those things come up. I think like from an investor angle, kind of switching gears a little bit from that. When I first did my first off market deal without an agent, you know, I had to I was wearing all the hats with
Hmm.
like managing the transaction. I didn't have a transaction coordinator, so I'm kind of managing the transaction when my agent before on our first purchase kind of handled all that, right? She coordinated the dates, like, hey, here's the option period, here's this is when the earnest money goes hard. Here's the here's the like survey dates, and all those details were handled by my agent.
Hmm.
So we did our first off market deal, and I'm kind of responsible, right? So Stacy, when you're working with investors that don't have an agent, I guess they all kind of come in different like that spectrum of what they know and what they don't know. It varies widely, right? So
Right, that's correct.
yeah, so you probably have to educate like investors a
We
lot, right?
do, and we really pride ourselves on being proactive versus reactive. And so, trust me, if you're working with us, you're going to get a lot of reminders.
Hmm.
We're going to keep hounding you until we get what we need, because
That's good.
we've got a little tickler system set up. So we have our dates in there. Okay, we really need to get the HOA, because a lot of these HOAs, they have to be paid for in advance, and there's a 10-day processing
Yeah.
time, but they won't start that until that payment's made. And so we're going to keep having, look, we got to get this paid or it's going to delay closing, because now we're 12 days out and there's a 10-day grace period for them
Yeah.
to get that to us once you pay it. So
And they're going to
same
use
thing with
all the time in the
probate.
world.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, we have to do a lot of asking.
Right. Well, hand holding and things like
Yes, yes.
that. Right. So I remember like when we closed we were going to close our first property that we had like under our LLC. So then
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
there's specific documents that you
Correct.
require, right? From
Yes,
an
yes.
LLC. What do
That's
those look
correct.
like?
Yes, so we have to have the EIN for the entity. We have to have the any LLC documents, your operating agreement, article, anything that's going to show who has authority to sign on behalf of the LLC. And then that way we can tell you, okay, we've reviewed this. Let's say it's Joe and Mark are signing. Oh, well, Mark's going to be out of the country. So then that gives us time that we can create a resolution so that Don and Mark both sign, or whatever I just said.
Hmm.
And Mark says, okay, he has authority to sign everything for this particular transaction. So
Right.
it's just one of those things. Like, we try to get everything up front, so that gives us enough time to get situated if we need to pivot and do something different, because you can't use a POA on an entity. So we have to create a resolution for
Got it.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So working with my wife, she works for NASA, for a contractor at NASA, and she's got this project manager mindset. She was a project manager for like Toshiba Motors back before she started working at NASA. She's also a part-time real estate agent. So she's very, very like detail oriented,
Mm-hmm.
and she gives me, I guess it's a compliment. She goes, I don't know how you keep track of all this stuff. You don't really write anything down. I was like, well, I kind of remember, and I have like these tickler systems in my head. I can kind of just kind of remember these things, but she's very detail oriented. And so like over our 6 years that we've been investing, I've developed like a checklist when I'm working with like off market deals is
Right.
okay. We typically work with one title company, but sometimes we might go to a different title company. And then it's more like, okay, do you have this? Do you need this? Do you need this? Right. Or we've wholesaled some deals. And that's kind of where my next question is going to you is at your title company, like working with wholesalers, like some title companies aren't familiar with handling assignment fees. And sometimes the assignment fees can be really
Mm-hmm.
big. And so they kind of get really antsy with working with really large assignment fees and things like that. And so then they go into things like double closes and stuff like that. So can you kind of shed a little bit of light on like what your experience is working with wholesalers and also like what's a double close?
Right. So wholesaling, to me, wholesaling is a double close because you've got owner selling to your wholesaler, and then you've got a separate contract where your wholesaler is signing to your end buyer.
Right.
Okay. And so they're treated as two separate transactions. Now, if wholesaler, the middleman, is relying on the end buyer funds to fund that transaction, meaning that wholesaler is not going to pay to fund that transaction. He's going to wait until the end buyer pays, and it's going to pay for both of them. There
Right.
are disclosures that all parties have to sign because the seller has to understand that he's immediately selling that property to somebody else and he's not putting up his own money. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say what the sales price is and nobody sees the closing statement,
Mm-hmm.
but they do have to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
So it works a lot better when that wholesaler is funding that first transaction and not
Right.
relying on the separate. That's the only way to get rid of those.
But that's not usually the case, is it though?
We actually have a lot of that. So the alternative to that is to assign it. So you've got seller selling it to ABC Financing and or assigns.
Right.
And then ABC Financing assigns it to the
Investor.
end buyer. And then we have the assignment fee shown on the closing statement. So it's just one transaction, but we do blind HUD. So the seller doesn't see what that end buyer is paying as an assignment fee to
Right.
that middleman.
Right. Yeah.
That's not.
And then there's also fees like title fees and insurance and closing costs and escrow fees on all transactions, right? On the first
Correct.
closing and the second closing.
That's correct. But if you are doing a double close and they're closing simultaneous, the first transaction has the option not to purchase title insurance.
Got it. Oh,
Because
okay.
they're
So then really
immediately
the
selling
end
it.
buyer.
So,
Gotcha.
yes. So
Okay.
so there's really no need for that
No.
first transaction to have title insurance because they're not keeping that property. They're
Right, yeah.
immediately selling it. So
Okay. That's good to
so
know.
that does help with the cost also.
Okay. No, that's good to know. So it's a good segue right into like our next questions, like about title insurance. Austin, if
Mhm.
you wanna ask some questions about title insurance and how what that really is and what that covers and doesn't cover.
So yeah, so talk to us about the timeline. So obviously this is something that probably no investor thinks about, like how long this is taking and why it takes more than 12 hours. When somebody says, "Oh, I can close tomorrow," why is that not an accurate statement? Because even
We've
if
done
somebody's
it.
yeah, I mean, you have done it, but I mean, is that realistic to do that on every file? Like
Not on every
typically how
file.
long does it take and why does it take that amount of time?
So there's a lot of factors that go into that. Now, if it's a very clean transaction and we know buyer needs to close in 5 days,
Mm-hmm.
it's doable. It's doable if the buyer is paying cash, and we can rush the title work and get that within 24 to 48 hours, as long as it's clean. Like maybe there's a mortgage, maybe there's no mortgage, but there's nothing else that needs to be cleared up. There's no
Mm-hmm.
judgment. There's no tax liens. There's no HOA liens. There's nothing like that that's going to prolong something for us to order. The other thing would be just an HOA. If they want to close fast, it's hard to say that we can do that if there's an HOA.
You're at the mercy of the HOA.
Yeah, they take 10 days to process. I mean, you can pay a rush fee. It's usually anywhere from like $300 to $600 for a rush fee, and you can usually get it within a day to 3 days.
Got it. So, what is the title policy covering, and how do we estimate the cost of that? So, typically, maybe you can like break down the cost of everything that's included in the whole title process, including.
Okay, so your title policy is going to be the same anywhere in the state of Texas. We're regulated, so it doesn't matter if you close here in my office. It doesn't matter if you close in San Antonio, Austin, Corpus. All the title insurance policies are going to be the same. So you just look it up, online. There's a Texas rate calculator, and it's going to show you and it goes by sales price. You just enter in your sales price, and it's going to tell you what your title.
Okay. So it's a percentage of the sales price?
Correct.
Okay.
Not an actual percentage, but I mean, it's based on the sales price.
Okay.
We just had a rate decrease, which was very sad for us. So the Texas title insurance rates just went down a little bit. But so that, again, is going to be the same anywhere you close. So really the only thing that sets a title company apart from the one down the street or the one across town is your service, because we're all charging the same thing. Now, we all charge an escrow fee, which is our closing fee. And so that for us is, I forgot what it is now. Hold on.
The escrow, that's the fee that can vary.
Yes. So ours is $13.90. So it's $6.95 a side.
Got it. Okay.
And that's basically, I don't know how to explain it other than that's our fee for doing the work, providing the service as the escrow agent.
That's how y'all get paid.
Right. So that's, we pull title, we prepare documents.
That's really not a lot of money, honestly.
It's really not. It's really not.
Yeah.
Especially for the level of service that you provide.
Exactly.
Right.
So keep going.
That's our fee. And then, we have a tax service that pulls all the tax records. They get everything from all the different tax entities and combine it for us. So we have to pay them. So we charge that fee, which is like $71 for the tax service. We have recording fees, which go straight to the county clerk's office. And really that's it for title fees.
Got it.
We don't charge wire fees. We don't charge courier fees here at our office. So
some title companies do.
Yeah. Some title companies charge for photocopies too.
Yeah.
Photocopies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lame. And then some title companies have like an in-house lawyer or law office. Is that how you're set up too?
Yeah, well, they're not in-house, but we have an attorney that we use if the lender is not going to prepare the warranty deed, if their attorney's not going to prepare the warranty deed, or for past transactions, we have an attorney that we can contract out to provide those.
Yeah.
So speaking of attorneys, what's the difference between closing at a title company and closing at a law office?
Well, I mean, we're an escrow state, so typically the closings in Texas are handled at the title company.
Right.
There are attorney states where they don't have title companies. Everything's done through the attorney.
Well, sometimes in Texas, sellers or buyers will just go straight to an attorney. And I don't know if they feel like they're saving money or if the process is different.
straight to an attorney, they're not getting title insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the answer I was looking for. They're not getting. So title insurance is not, it's not a mandatory part of the.
No, it's not. No.
It's just a really good idea.
Absolutely. Yes.
And the lender typically will require it, though, I'm sure.
The lender is always going to require title insurance. Yes. But if you've got, and we get this question all the time, if you've got a father that's wanting to deed his property over to his daughter, we get those calls all the time. Well, I just want to do this, but we don't need title insurance. We don't, I know that I don't have anything on this property. We as a title company cannot be involved in that if we're not issuing title insurance. So we have to refer them out to an attorney, a real estate attorney.
Gotcha. Here's something that I'm starting to hear more is wire fraud.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like this has been a hot topic recently. Fortunately, by God's grace, I've avoided it. I know Alberto's avoided it. We've had some clients that have dealt with it.
We had it happen here in this office.
It's happening, but it seems like the scams are just piling up. And they're like, people will text me and email me. It's very consistent. They'll send me a Zoom link. Anytime somebody sends me a Zoom link, I know it's total crap. What's going on there? And like, why do you think this is so hot right now? And what do we need to do to avoid being a victim of wire fraud right now?
Well, I'll give you the example that happened here in our office. It was another closer in my office, but she was doing a refinance with a mortgage broker that's her regular client. Well, the mortgage broker's email got compromised. So the mortgage broker ordered the payoff statement, and it was a hard money loan. So it wasn't a traditional lender. It was a hard money lender. They ordered the payoff. Well, when they got the payoff in, it was from, they had just barely changed the email address on there. And so instead of, let's just say, like, I'm Stacy.Proue@fnf.com, they put Stacy Proue without a dot. Or so it was just something very, very similar, but it was not right. And so it was a spoofed email. Well, so the payoff came in altered as far as the wiring instructions.
Yeah. So they caught it?
No, she wired it out because everything looked legit on it.
But what was the fee? The fee for a payoff is relatively low. We've had, how often does it happen where somebody will wire their down payment to?
Yeah. We've had people get spoofed emails, and luckily they've caught it. They call us because we always tell everybody to call and verify the wiring instructions with us. So it's very important because if we send out wire instructions through a secure email, always, we don't ever send them just regular mail or any other form. And we always show on there, you will not receive any other version of these wiring instructions from us. So luckily people have caught on to that, and they'll get something and they'll call us and say, well, I got this. Nope, that was not from us. I'm glad you called. Yeah, but there's these people are targeting because somehow they find out that these people are in real estate transactions, and they get into those emails. Google, Yahoo, any of those unsecured email accounts, they're so easily hacked.
Yeah, I believe it. So yeah, don't just wire money. Call and verify. We tell our clients, call and verify, because they will get you. We've seen it done. And I've had 2 close calls. Fortunately, we were able to catch it. But the more you see it, the more you kind of recognize it. But it just seems like these scams are just like getting worse lately. Yeah. So,
and some of them are really bad. They'll send wiring instructions to buyers or sellers and have an individual's name in there. And I'm like, why? Why would you think that it would be okay to wire your funds to this individual name, not Fidelity or not the mortgage company or.
So we are at, I have one last question because we're out of time, but there's about 50 other things that we could talk about today. We definitely want to have you come back, but Here's a question. What are one or two or three things that real estate investors or even real estate brokers can do to become a title company's favorite client?
So I would say to have when you go onto your listing appointment or you're going to meet with that seller if it's an investor transaction, have a worksheet that you can have the sellers fill out when they're filling out the contract and ask the questions about their marital status. Find out if there's a deceased spouse or if this is a deceased parent or there's a divorce or a pending divorce. If is there a mortgage on the property, go ahead and get that loan
Mm-hmm.
number and the seller's social security number, at least the last four digits of the social for the seller, so that you've got all that completed once you turn in that contract to the title company. Because like I said, the quicker we know about a situation, the quicker we can jump on it and start working on that. We can make those phone calls to the sellers. Okay, I noticed your spouse is deceased. Did you have a probate file? Is there a
Mm-hmm.
will? Okay, if not, let me get you this paperwork so that we can get you to fill this out so we can start working on an heirship affidavit.
Perfect.
Because
Love
that
it.
takes some time,
Yeah.
especially if it's something that they just don't know. Maybe the spouse has been dead for 10 years and they've got to think about, oh, well, who was their ex spouse or, what do they have kids outside the marriage? We need to, locate them,
Mm-hmm.
so there's things that could take some time. So the quicker we can jump on that, the better off it is. And the more likely that your closing is going to close on time.
Perfect. Albert, any last questions or thoughts?
No, lots of value today, Stacy. Thank you for joining. I love that at the very end here, kind of having working like from a checklist,
Yes.
because as investors, right, when I'm belly to belly with that homeowner, we're negotiating and, I'm understanding like what problem can I solve for you? And yes, I may be able to kind of glean and get some information out of them, but if I'm working off of a checklist or a worksheet or something,
Mm-hmm.
then I get all those questions answered up front, providing that to your title company with your contract. Hey, this is what I know, this is what I don't know, or they didn't know about. And setting realistic expectations on both sides, right? Is not telling the seller, oh, I can close in a week. And now there's a bunch of lien information that we have to kind of work through because they forgot, right? So
Right.
setting realistic expectations on both sides. But excellent call. I love talking to title people. Y'all are just so knowledgeable. I love it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and now, I mean, when you make that worksheet for them to complete when you're meeting with them at your appointment, maybe even add that question about, were you under contract with anyone else prior to me? Because
Yeah.
that way it's like you already know, okay, maybe I need to tell the title company, look for a memorandum,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because
good.
I'll tell you real quick, I just had a situation where one of my regular investors, they had to close the front side with a different title company because the listing agent wanted it opened over there. I'm closing the back side. And so when we got ready to close, I said, look, I need to see the front side closing statement because I need to make sure this was covered. I said, and that the memorandum of contract was either paid or released. They go back to the title company. Well, guess what? They missed that memorandum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we had to halt closing and then come to find out.
Sorry, I just accidentally muted you. Sorry about that.
Oh, she's still muted.
You're muted, Stacy. I can't. I meant to mute myself when I coughed.
All right.
Say
Can you
that
hear me
last
now?
part again. That was my
So,
bad.
so that transaction had to get halted. Well, then they had to do some research. Well, it was like the situation that Albert was saying just a minute ago that this was a con artist that went and placed a whole bunch of memorandums on properties. And so
Wow.
now they're having to track these people down because there's a lawsuit against them and they've gone MIA. They're not answering any calls. So it's turned into a big old mess. But yeah, they had missed that memorandum. So
That's wild.
that can be one of your questions on your
Choosing
seller
choosing the
information.
right title company matters. It really
Yes,
does
for
matter.
sure.
So if you're watching this live or in the future on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple, uh, message or comment and just say, I want the checklist. And we'll
Yes.
get that checklist over to you. But you gotta leave a comment. No DMs. It's got to be public. Everybody has to see it. So, Stacy, grateful for your time. I know it's getting busy. I don't know about you, but things are picking
Very
up.
good.
Contracts
Yes.
are starting to move now,
Oh yeah.
and hopefully it continues in that
Very
trajectory.
grateful for that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we're all seeing the same thing. So it means that you should have bought something already. If you're on the call and you're still sitting on the sidelines, um, the market's not going to wait for you. We are still in a very, very heavy buyer's market in my relatively heavy.
Mm.
6 months of inventory, record amounts of inventory on the market, and
Buy now,
yeah,
because the prices are going to keep going up.
yeah, they're going to go up. Even if the interest rates stay the same, values are
That's
going
right.
to go up. And if you're investing, you need to know that a third, and Albert and I spoke about this, a third of all properties being sold right now are brand new construction.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers are buying condition over quality right now. So they're buying cheap new houses instead of good, solid built old houses. The new cheap houses are winning right now. And so take that into consideration when you're rehabbing. Every little detail counts in these projects if you want to make the most money possible. And it counts to have a title company like Fidelity and Stacy, someone that's going to educate you throughout the process, stay on top of deadlines, communicate, and treat everybody with fairness and respect and answer questions. So, Stacy, grateful for you and your wealth of knowledge. Alberto, my brother, appreciate you, man. Everybody on the call, have a blessed week. Last week of school for you parents and anybody in school listening right now. I'd be surprised if there's anybody doing that. But have a wonderful week. Happy Monday.
All right.